Ugh. I feel like I'm losing my mind, guys. I really do feel like I'm losing my mind because we're living in a world where the clickbait has won. These articles are being published, mass produced, and no one's actually considering the implications of this, or no one's actually doing their homework. And this is where I don't want to yell at you guys and scold you guys because I just feel like a dick if I did that. I'm just saying, when you see these kind of really out there clickbait titles, follow up on them. Go to the original source that they're talking about. Make sure you do your homework on that original source, because more than likely they're taking things out of context or they're blowing things out of proportion, and that's exactly what's happening here in the Godzilla community right now. Okay, so today we are here to do a quick video. It shouldn't be long. Quick video to just clear up some misconceptions, talk about the death of Shin Godzilla 2 and the birth of the Godzilla cinematic universe over at Toho Studios. What does this look like? Alright, so this comes from an interview with Godzilla's chief officer. I don't know how you get that title, but I'd want it. His name is Keiji Ota. He recently did an interview and it was made mainstream when Gomoru Island did an article about it. So I went to the original article, right, and I read the original article after translating it, and then I read theirs as well, and they at least they don't blow things out of proportion. They literally just do what they're supposed to do. They translate it and then they report about it. They don't go around saying Shin Godzilla 2 confirmed to be dead. How does it feel, Shin Godzilla fans? That's pretty much what the internet is doing right now, and I've been getting loads of messages about it. How does it feel to know that there's not going to be a Shin Godzilla 2? How does it feel, D-Man? Well, it feels like you guys are full of crap, because there's very, very high potential for Shin Godzilla 2, and everyone's ignoring it. Okay, so what did our Kevin Feige of the Godzilla universe have to tell us recently when he did his interview? Basically, what he had to tell us was, I'll separate it into, I have here 8 major points. What these major points are is the future of Godzilla's franchise. So he first off, he gives a big shout out slash thanks to Godzilla 2014 for reviving the Godzilla franchise. Basically, he says everything we're doing now, everything we're gonna do in the future is dependent on how well 2014 did, and because 2014 did so well, we are able to do what we're doing now. And it seems like Toho has a really healthy working relationship with Legendary, which gives me hope for the MonsterVerse going on past 2020. He then gives a slight mention to how Shin Godzilla made more money domestically. Now, when we say domestic, we're talking about Japan. How Shin Godzilla made more money domestically than Godzilla 2014 did. This is important because it shows that Shin Godzilla is more relevant in Japan, so they're not going to be focusing all their attention on more westernized Godzilla films going on in the future. They're going to take a look at Shin Godzilla and say, yes, this is what resonates with our audience. Let's continue that. And then after that, he says that Toho is enjoying living in an era where there can be a new Godzilla film every year, where they can make Godzilla movies on a yearly basis. Now, what does that mean? So some people think, oh, that means that maybe we're going to get a Godzilla movie in 2019 and 2020. You're absolutely right, but they're not coming from Toho. Toho's not just talking about themselves. It looks like Keiji Ota is looking big picture here. He's saying, all right, we have 2014's Godzilla. It took a little bit, but we finally got on our game. We made Shin Godzilla in 2016, Godzilla Planet of the Monsters in 2017. 2018 brought about Godzilla City on the Edge of Battle, which just opened up in Japan this weekend, to very mixed reviews that we'll talk about in a future news update. Then finally, the Godzilla, what's it called? The final anime has some new working title or working English translation, basically Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah, the anime. So he's saying now we have that in 2018, 2019, you're gonna have Legendary's Godzilla King of the Monsters. 2020 will be Godzilla vs. Kong, and so presumably 2021 will be the continuation of what has been dubbed Godzilla World, or World of Godzilla, as we'll talk about here in a minute. It sounds like he's planning on following up with the Showa era kind of style of filmmaking, where they're like, there's got to be a Godzilla movie every year, or or we fail. So next up, he says that Godzilla is a more popular character than he has ever been. He uses the Godzilla official Godzilla store as his example. He's like, look at that. We are living in a world where there's a store in Japan, a very large mainstream store with multiple outlets dedicated to only Godzilla. And then he states that this I found to be a bit disappointing. He basically says the Godzilla anime was just a way to keep people interested in Godzilla between Shin Godzilla and Godzilla King of the Monsters. Basically what Toho is trying to do with the Godzilla anime with Polygon Pictures is, first of all, they're trying to make some money. We all knew that. But basically it sounds like what they're just trying to do is help Legendary out. It's not like they want to make these movies. They're just making the movies because they know Japanese audiences may get bored of Godzilla if they don't get to see him for a while. So if they just bombard us with Godzilla content, we have to remember him and he'll stay relevant, giving Legendary Studios a chance to open up with a bigger release in Japan. At least that's what it sounds like based off the way he words it. That's a bit disappointing. I wish they had a little more heart in it, but you know what? I liked Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, and I know a lot of people are very, very disappointed in City on the Edge of Battle, but I still have hope for it because I wasn't let down with any of the previous Godzilla movies that we've gotten for over 10 years. So we've been over 10 years without letting me down. I really don't believe that I'm going to be let down with this next one. I think I just can't let myself be let down. Even if I don't like it initially, I'll grow into it like I did with Godzilla Planet of the Monsters, and I did the same thing with Pacific Rim Uprising. This is the big one. All right, he says that he's going to start focusing on a shared Godzilla universe. He says a shared Godzilla universe is on the horizon, and what they'll use as their role model is the MCU. The MCU is going to be their role model. The MonsterVerse is going to be another working example for them, and this new Godzilla universe will feature solo movies. He doesn't necessarily say, yeah, these are confirmed solo movies coming up, but he says, for example, we can feature solo movies with just Godzilla. We can feature solo movies with just Mothra, just King Ghidorah, and etc. So that opens up the door to another Rebirth of Mothra kind of era, kind of series, and it opens up the door to the possibility of a solo Ghidorah film, which we've never seen before, and I would love to see something like that. Probably if Toho did it, it might be a little worse than if Legendary did it, if we're honest, but you know what? We'll give them the benefit of the doubt. This is the other big one. So he says, this is a direct quote, Shin Godzilla was a huge hit, but instead of thinking of doing the obvious idea of making a Shin Godzilla 2, instead think about a world that can be used for a long time. I'd rather make a world of Godzilla. So a lot of people are using this exact quote as the evidence that Shin Godzilla 2, it's just dead, dude. There's no Shin Godzilla 2. All you Shin Godzilla fans, you can suck it because it's done. They're just focusing on a shared universe now. No, that doesn't actually sound like what that quote's talking about at all. That quote basically sounds like, yeah, we're gonna continue the Shin Godzilla universe with other monsters. And we'll talk a bit more about it at the end. We're still gonna get to see the follow-up to the Shin Godzilla storyline. So just because Shin Godzilla 2 doesn't sound like what the Kevin Feige of Godzilla wants to work on, it still is on the slate. And he says, I'd rather make a world of Godzilla. He doesn't get to control Toho, right? At the end of the day, if Toho Studios is like, no, we want Shin Godzilla 2 because Shin Godzilla 1 made a lot of money, they're gonna make a Shin Godzilla 2. He's gonna suck it up and make it. That's just how it works. And he says, I'd rather do a world that would work for a long time, which is why they're gonna focus on this world of Godzilla rather than Shin Godzilla. That just sounds to me like, no, we're not just gonna pump out Shin Godzilla sequels because those will end at some point. We're gonna focus on everything, maybe including Shin Godzilla sequels. So this world of Godzilla, this would be very similar to Toho's original cinematic universe, which a lot of people don't give credit to. It's something called the Showa series. Basically what they did was they just pumped out loads of sci-fi movies, and then at one point were like, yeah, it'd be cool if we just combined them all. We're trying to end the genre anyways. Let's destroy all monsters. And that's how we got the combination of all of them. Well, we also had Ghidra the three-headed monster before that, where Rodan and Anguirus, what am I talking about? Rodan and Mothra cross over into the Godzilla universe. Mothra had already been there from Mothra vs. Godzilla, but you know what I'm saying. Basically, they were just like, hey, we make these movies. If they do well, we'll make them Godzilla movies also. We'll make Godzilla fight him because Godzilla's our powerhouse. So they're going to use that as their example. And then he mentions how the Mothra movie from 1961 is a perfect example of what to expect from Toho in the future. So basically, we're going to be getting self-contained stories with these giant monsters, but they're going to be in a broader Godzilla universe, in a universe with Godzilla, and eventually they'll cross over into the Godzilla universe that we already have established. And he doesn't talk about rebooting Godzilla or anything like that. It basically sounds like a continuation of Shin Godzilla's universe, but he's saying, hey, you know how this was a really grounded universe? We're going to flip it on its head. And just like how the MCU was a really grounded universe and they took Iron Man, they flipped it on his head, and pretty much ever since then it's just been expanding and getting wilder and wilder. That's what we're going to do too, which I'm all for. And the future of Godzilla, according to this guy, looks like this. We're going to have mobile apps, new t-shirts coming from Japan. I guess that's kind of cool. They're already making t-shirts at the Godzilla store. They're just not selling them to us in the US. But he says, yeah, we're going to distribute all this stuff to the US after 2020 once we get the rights. And that way we can work with Legendary and we can work everything out, but we'll be the sole distributors outside of country as well. So he says, mobile apps, new t-shirts, the potential for a full Godzilla themed theme park in LA, which would be awesome. I would love to go there. I'd just spend all my time there. That would be horrible. That'd be amazing though. He says we're gonna sell Shinjuku Godzilla heads to foreign countries, which is awesome. Shinjuku Godzilla head, for those of you that don't know, it's a giant Godzilla head that sits on top of a hotel, and now that we're gonna be hopefully getting those in multiple countries outside of Japan in 2020, that'll be awesome. Hopefully we get a whole bunch here in America. And then allowing Godzilla to cross over with other companies and other franchises, which continues the possibility for the featuring of Godzilla in the Legendary Monsterverse. See, this is what I'm talking about. So many people focus on such a small aspect of this original interview that they're ignoring the larger implications here. This guy basically just said, Legendary, you can have your fun with Godzilla after 2020. We will allow you to do that because we're going to allow Godzilla to cross over into lots of platforms. We've already seen Toho opening up to this once we had this guy Keiji Ota kind of hired. We've seen Godzilla in City on the or City Shrouded in Shadow. We've seen Godzilla on Shin-Chan. We back in the past, anyways, we had Godzilla on Zone Fighter. So I know he had nothing to do with that, but that's just another example of Godzilla crossovers that we can expect to see in the future. And then he says we're going to become less strict with the Godzilla character and the way people use him, which that gives me a lot of hope for a couple things. Number one, we can get some real inspired storylines with Godzilla comics nowadays. We already had Godzilla in Hell, which is a radically different Godzilla than we've ever seen before. But basically, it sounds like, no, we're going to let you play with your own, we're going to let you play by your own rules. We're not going to force you into this box anymore like we used to. And another example of them allowing Godzilla to cross over would be Mechagodzilla's cameo in Ready Player One. It's awesome. Continuing with that idea of letting people use Godzilla how they want. Hopefully that means that their copyright system is going to become a little less strict for smaller content creators like myself here on YouTube. Maybe the Godzilla heritage may finally be able to get off the ground with what they were doing again, because of course Toho infamously shut them down even though they were a non-profit fan film. So it sounds like this new guy in charge of Godzilla, our new Kevin Feige of Godzilla, is really exactly what we were waiting for in the Godzilla community. And then of course working with Legendary Studios is going to be another thing that they're going to be doing in the future. And we already knew this. We were building to this for a while now. A couple months ago, Toho came out with the official release statement saying, yeah, we're going to be working with studios outside of Japan on collaboration movies, which gives me hope for someday maybe we can get a Toho Godzilla or Toho Legendary Godzilla crossover. Not necessarily Shin Godzilla Verse 2014, but having both companies work together creatively in order to create one movie. That'd be the perfect balance of everything everyone loves. Now, to quickly talk about what a shared Godzilla universe looks like for all of those of you who think that this is just the death of Shin Godzilla 2, a shared universe looks like this: self-contained stories that build to crossover events. He cites the MCU as his primary example, and that's exactly what the MCU did. Now, in this world of Godzilla, we will follow up on Shin Godzilla and the storyline of what happened with him, what's going on with the tail. We're gonna know exactly what the hell's going on, guys. Shin Godzilla 2 isn't dead, alright? It's just changing into something new. And also, if you really think about it, he basically says, this is our MCU. Godzilla is our Iron Man. So if Toho is basing their new Godzilla world, or World of Godzilla, based off the MCU with Godzilla as Iron Man, we can expect to see something similar to what happened with Iron Man followed up here. Maybe we can get a Godzilla Shin Godzilla 2, just like we got in Iron Man 2. A Shin Godzilla 3, just like we got Iron Man 3. In fact, I think instead of canceling Shin Godzilla 2, because he never says that he cancels Shin Godzilla 2. Instead of anything like that, this opens up the door for more possibilities in the future. We'll see crossover events too. That'll be awesome. Seeing Shin Godzilla take on all the monsters that we know and love, which will make this amazing Godzilla store art finally a reality, where Shin Godzilla can take on the King of the Monsters roster, which will be Godzilla, Mothra, Rodan, and King Ghidorah. I don't know. I think people just have to focus on the bigger picture here, look at the full implications of what's going on, and stop just focusing on the clickbait. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I will see you guys next time. D-Man, out. Sorry, I hit my mic right there. I don't know what that sounds like, but it probably doesn't sound good.